Once upon a time, in a Minangkabau coastal village known as Pantai Air Manis, lived an elderly widow named Mande Rubaya. She had a son named Malin Kundang. She loved and looked after her son dearly. Every day, she baked and sold cookies in the market, and Malin, who was such a darling, helped his mom. Like many Minangkabau young men, Malin dreamt of taking journeys and seeking treasure and wealth in faraway lands. He wanted to ease his mother's burden and to find ways to bring her greater prosperity. Malin's dream came true when a large merchant ship anchored at Pantai Air Manis. Malin rushed to the shore, asked if he could help unload some of the trade goods. The captain agreed, and in fact, the captain needed an extra hand on deck, and he offered Malin a trip of a lifetime. Malin was so thrilled and excited, he rushed home and told his mom the news. Malin's mom was happy to hear the news, but sad at the same time because her only son would be leaving her alone soon. But seeing her son's determination and courage, she blessed him for a safe and meaningful journey. She hoped traveling the world would make a man out of him and shape his character into someone who can make a positive impact on the people around him. Malin's mom expected nothing, but only hoped Malin would come home soon and make her proud. After that, Malin's mom would go to the beach every day after she finished her cookie selling in the market. She stared at the sky and the horizon, wondering how her son was doing. She missed him so much and prayed he would come home soon. Meanwhile, as the time went by, Malin made a fortune and became a wealthy man and was soon to be married to the daughter of a rich merchant and shipowner. One fateful day, a fleet of large merchant ships was spotted on the horizon, sailing toward Pantai Air Manis. On board the flagship was Malin and his newly wedded wife. The village crowd cheered the ship's arrival and excitedly cheered Malin and his wife. Malin's mother was among the crowd and broke through the line to approach her son. She burst into tears and ran to hug her son. Malin, who was with his newly wedded wife, could not stand seeing his mother, who looked like a beggar. Feeling embarrassed, he immediately denied her existence and pushed her until she fell. Malin's mother was shocked and hurt so much. She could never have imagined that her one and only son would treat her that way. She prayed in her heart, "God, I did not raise that boy only to be hurt and humiliated. But he is still my son. I still love him. But I ask you, God, let me be the last person on earth he will hurt. Don't let him be an evil person. Show me your way, God." Upon completion of the loading and unloading of the merchant goods, the fleet set sail again. Malin, his wife, and the entire crew were destined to take the final voyage of their lives. The weather turned for the worse, and huge waves slammed the fleet, and within hours, all of Malin's fleet sunk in the middle of the ocean. Malin was washed ashore and badly wounded, but still alive. Malin then realized that God had punished him for what he did to his mom. He bowed his head and prayed for his mother's forgiveness. It was too late. His body stiffened and poor Malin slowly changed into a rock. Today, the rock that resembles a man can still be found at Pantai Air Manis village, reminding all of us again that our mother's prayers are the keys to a blessed, long, and prosperous life. In the olden times, in a fertile tropical land of Malaysia, Once lived a poor widow named Mahmina with her 2 children, Malur and Pakan. Mahmina was a loving mother who worked hard every day to support her family. One morning, she went fishing at the nearby river, and guess what? She caught a big tambako fish full of fish roe. Oh, what a jolly good day for Mahmina! She returned home and asked Malur to cook the fish and save some fish roe for her. Before Mahmina left the house to go to the forest to find some wood, she told her children that if she came home late, they didn't have to wait for her and may eat first. While in the forest, Mahmina spent the entire day imagining how delicious the fish roe was. However, when she arrived at home, dear heavens, wasn't she surprised? She found out all the fish and its roe were gone. Someone ate it all. Seeing her very upset mother, Malur explained that she had saved some of the egg for her, but Pakan wanted more. Pakan was crying so loud while rolling around on the floor. Boy, can you imagine how messy that was? He ignored his sister's warnings and ate the fish roe anyway. Malur felt so guilty and asked for her mother's forgiveness, but it was too late. They failed to keep their promise. Their mother's heart was already broken to pieces. Mahmina felt that her children no longer loved her. And you know what happened next? Mahmina stormed out of the house and ran into the forest. Malur and Pakan rushed after her and begged their mother to return. From afar, they heard their mother scream, "The devouring rock! My children no longer love me! I sacrifice myself to you!" She ran towards the devouring rock, and then she stood at the mouth of the boulder. Suddenly, the boulder made a loud rumbling sound and swallowed the woman. By the time Malur and Pakan arrived, they found only strands of their mother's hair on the rock's surface. Oh, what poor little souls! They were so young, and they had to bear the pain of living their lives without their mother. A long time ago, the southern coast of Singapore was infested by numerous fierce swordfish. The villagers and the fishermen were unable to ply their trades at sea, as they would be attacked by these fearsome beasts if they ever came close to the water. The people reported to the Prime Minister and the Sultan. They were at a loss as to how they could fight off the invasion of the swordfish. Immediately, the soldiers were sent by the Sultan, but the soldiers were outnumbered and could not overcome the swordfish. Up on a hill, not so far away, there was a little boy named Nadim, who observed the scene and had an idea to solve such a problem. He rushed to the Sultan and told him of his plan. He proposed that banana trunks be planted along the shore at low tide when the fish were away. The swordfish would attack the banana trunks, and their sharp jaws would get stuck in the tree trunks. That way, those swordfish became an easy target for the Sultan's army. The Sultan ordered the Prime Minister to do exactly what Nadim had told him. The plan worked perfectly. Every low tide, the army would plant a new set of banana trunks, while every high tide, the swordfish would attack the trunks, mistaking them for humans, and get their jaws caught on the banana trunks. The people rejoiced, and Nadim was named their savior. The Sultan was very pleased with the boy, but not the Prime Minister. He felt threatened because he was outsmarted by the boy. One night, he told the Sultan that he had foreseen disaster. In his vision, the boy would take over the Sultan's place in the future. The Sultan was easily persuaded. He was anxious and asked the Prime Minister for his advice. The Prime Minister replied happily, "Leave that to me. I will find a solution for you, Tuanku." Immediately, he went to Nadim's home and plunged his kriss into the boy's heart. His blood gushed out, covering the hills and valleys, making them all red. This was how Bukit Merah, or Red Hill, got its name. In turn, the place where the soldiers set up barricades of banana tree trunks will be known as Tanjong Pagar, or the Cape of Fence. Even today, people still talk about Nadim's brilliance and courage, while the Prime Minister is remembered for his treachery. Once upon a time, there was a Lao boy named Seung-myung. On the loveliest afternoon, he took a walk by a swamp near his village, and there he saw a snail moving slowly along the edge of the pond. "Snail, what a slow creature you are. I bet it takes a month to get anywhere you want, huh?" said Seung-myung with a mocking tone. The snail felt insulted, and in rage, the snail challenged him to a race. Seung-myung was cocky and convinced that the snail didn't stand a chance to win. He said yes to the challenge, and they promised to meet the next morning at the same spot. The snail is definitely slow, but he is clever. After his unpleasant meeting with Seung-myung, he immediately set up strategies with his friends. The next morning came. The snail was waiting for Seung-myung by the edge of the swamp. When Seung-myung arrived, the snail said, "Seung-myung, since I am so small, it might be difficult for you to see where I am in the race. Why don't you call my name after you have run for a while, and I will answer your call. You can call, 'Snail,' and I can answer, 'Cook.'" They simply agreed upon the calling arrangement. Then the race began. The snail moved slowly, and Seung-myung ran off as fast as he could. Then he looked back and could not see the snail. So he called, "Snail!" "Cook!" came the snail's answer from way ahead of Seung-myung. He instantly panicked and ran even faster. After a while, he looked back and could not see the snail. So he called, "Snail!" "Cook!" came the snail's answer from way ahead of Seung-myung. No matter how fast Seung-myung ran, he was always left behind. He ran so hard until he fell exhausted and fainted. As he passed out, he wondered how the slow-moving snail could defeat him in that race. As it turned out, all the snails had placed themselves at intervals all around the edge of the pond, each one of them waiting for Seung-myung's call. Once upon a time, there lived a man named Kek and his son. They had a fine, brown-haired, fat donkey. When the time came to sell the donkey, Kek took his son to go with him to Kampong village. Kampong village is located rather far from their village, but Kek knew that there he would get a very good price for his donkey. Let's carry our donkey using a pole on our shoulders. That way, the donkey will not become too thin upon arriving to Kompong village, said Kek. His son approved of the idea, and they immediately did so. Apparently, not everyone thought it was such a good idea. The first person whom they met in the next village shouted, "A donkey should be ridden by the owner, not the other way around. It's what they are for." Kek stopped for a while, thinking about what the stranger had just said. That's a good point. After they untied the donkey, Kek told his son to climb on the donkey. He then started to walk beside them. But to another village they traveled, and another mockery they got. Now an old man scolded Kek's son. "Young man, you let your father tire himself as you sit back on a donkey? Shame on you!" Embarrassed, the boy came down from the donkey, and now Kek sat on the donkey while his son walked by their side. This time, an elderly woman approached Kek and said, "Your child looks so tired. Why don't you change places? After all, you're stronger than this young boy, aren't you?" Kek and his son looked at each other. No matter how they did it, it always seemed wrong in the eyes of others. Finally, together, they rode the donkey to Kompong village. But this time, they were both scolded by a farmer on the outskirts of Kompong village. "Don't you have a heart? This donkey is too young and not old enough to carry both of you." They said nothing. They both got down from the donkey, put a leash around its neck, and led it to the market. Finally, they arrived at the market in Kompong village. In the market, they managed to sell the donkey for a good price. What a journey! For them, this journey taught them a valuable lesson. One day, Pagong the turtle and Maching the monkey were walking by the river. Then Maching saw a floating banana tree. "Look, a banana tree! Let's go get it, Pagong!" Since Maching was the one that saw the tree first, Maching insisted that he will take home the trunk that already had some leaves, thinking that it will soon bear fruit, while Pagong, he was given the part with the roots. They parted ways and planted the banana trees that they owned. Pagong planted his near the riverbank, while Maching planted his in the woods. Every day, they watered the plants. Days went by. Maching's plant died, the leaves withered, and the trunk decayed. Meanwhile, Pagong's plant slowly grew leaves and grew even bigger until it bore fruit. Maching came to Pagong and he wept. "Pagong, my plant died." Pagong kindly answered, "Oh, poor Maching, don't be sad. Look at my plant. It has become a fruitful banana tree. If you help me gather the fruit, I will share my harvest with you." "Wow, really? Let me climb the tree for you then," Maching answered excitedly. Once Maching reached the top of the tree, he greedily ate all of the bananas. Pagong shouted, "Hey, Maching, give me some." The naughty Maching answered, "No chance! It is all mine now!" Pagong was so angry, he began to stick many thorns on the tree trunk. After Maching felt full, Maching went down the tree. Not long after, he screamed in pain. "Ouch! Ouch! There are so many thorns! Pagong, you will pay for this!" Maching sat on the top of a coconut shell to remove the thorns. Then, the next thing he knew, Pagong bit his tail. Then Pagong hid under the coconut shell. In a rage, Maching lifted the coconut shell. "You will pay for what you have done to me! I will cook you now!" Pagong acted cool. "Sounds like a plan. When you cook me, I will turn red and be more attractive." Maching replied, "I know! What about if I just throw you in the river and let you drown there?" Pagong pretended to be scared. "No, not the river. Please, I will drown there." Maching threw Pagong into the river with vengeance. Once Pagong hit the water, he laughed. "Maching, you slow-minded. Did you not know I live in water?" Maching scratched his head in confusion and immediately regretted all of his actions. A long time ago, on a beautiful sunny day, there was a fisherman fishing alone in the big, wide Brunei River. Hours went by, and suddenly his tummy growled loudly. Clearly, he was starving. But no need to worry. The fisherman came all prepared. He took his homemade lunch of rice dumplings out. Yum! He was so hungry he ate all his food in an instant, leaving some leftovers, which he threw into the river without ever feeling guilty. Unbeknownst to the fisherman, the little rice grains that were floating away on the current started to cry loudly over their unfortunate fate. One of the rice grains sobbed and said, "We feel betrayed. All we ever do is for the sake of humans. We filled their hunger, yet we are so easily thrown away like garbage. Humans are so ungrateful." They were crying loudly when something the size of a hill slowly approached them. While sobbing, one of the little rice grains got curious and asked, "Oh, big one, what are you?" The big one explained himself. "I am the Golden Island. As you can see, I am made up of glittering gold. I am here to bring fortunes to the villagers of this country. But I heard there was a cry from here. What happened to you, O little rice grain?" Then the little rice grain told the Golden Island of how humans threw away their leftovers. Humans often do not appreciate the little things. The Golden Mountain was angry to learn about the true nature of man and said, "Oh my, such a bad nature. Surely a civilization that does not appreciate small wealth is not entitled to great wealth as well." Thus, the Golden Mountain left the village by the river, looking for other villages where people are grateful and appreciative, a village that was worthy of his wealth. From then onward, the river where the Golden Island appeared has been known as the Sungai Siamas, or the Golden River, and the village there is known as the Gold River Village. Nearly 30 years ago, Pirongku, a small town in Sisaket province, northeastern Thailand, was an arid countryside. The ground was all cracked and dry. trees and plants could hardly be planted in the area. Luckily, there was one person who was willing to devote his life to restore the land back to life. He was a police officer named Wichai Suviut, or known as Dab Wichai. Back in 1988, he began planting trees every day in empty areas along the road, vacant lots, and even public spaces. His goal is to see his hometown become lush and green. Every morning before 5 a.m. and after work, Dab Wichai has gone out riding a motorbike, carrying a shovel, a watering bucket, and a bag full of plants and seeds. Come rain or shine, he planted many kinds of trees, such as toddy palm and golden shower trees. Inspired by the teaching of His Majesty the late King Bhumibol Adulyadej, he is fully driven to contribute towards community and country. He believes that all of those planted trees will help the locals to achieve a prosperous and promising future. He dares to dream that one day the locals will become independent and able to create job opportunities in their own homeland. Time passes by and the trees finally grow, providing a comfortable shelter and all kinds of fruit. The dry land is no more. Now Pironggu is a green and fertile land where people harvest their fruits and make a better living out of it. After 30 years of his devotion, he planted about 3 million trees. The inspirational story of Dab Wichai has been widely recognized, and his hard work has paid off in several awards. And in the year 2006, he was honored as one of Thailand's most outstanding personalities. I'm still going to keep planting trees, and I'll do it until my last day. I think planting trees is something everyone can do for our community and our next generation. True happiness lies when we learn how to live in harmony with nature, Dab Wichai proudly said. Once there was a crow who had a burning desire to look more beautiful. The crow lived in a big banyan tree, where several peacocks also lived. She sometimes scorned the whole crow community for being black and ugly, while she adored the beautiful plumes of the peacocks and cherished a desire to look like one of them. To fulfill her desire, she broke away from the crow community and followed the peacocks everywhere. She then started collecting the dropped-off peacock's feathers and fixing them into her own so that she might look as beautiful as a peacock. The poor crow never thought that by only attaching the feathers, that could not make her a peacock. There are many other things that are essentials of being a peacock, things that she would never be able to imitate. After putting on the peacock's feathers, the crow considered herself to be a peacock. She was so proud of her new set of feathers that she decided to live among the peacocks right away. She then walked up and down among the peacocks, hoping for the peacock community's acceptance. Meanwhile, the peacocks saw this strange bird as a bad surprise. To them, she looked so strange, half crow and half peacock. The peacocks are known for their self-pride. They could not tolerate a crow posing as a peacock. At once, they pounced upon the crow and broke away some of her artificial feathers. The crow was barely able to save her own life. She flew away and reached a tree branch where some crows were perching. Here, she began to move proudly among the crows, showing her beautiful peacock's feathers. Again, the crows took her to be a different bird, resembling a peacock. They could not bear the presence of a peacock among themselves. They attacked her, pecking her hard with their beaks. One more time, the crow had to fly away for her life. She was heartbroken and flew to a lonely tree in the jungle. She did not know what to do. It turned out that fixing peacock's feathers into her own could not make her a peacock. The peacocks only saw her as an imposter. Not only that, her own sister crows cast her off, thinking her a weird creature. At last, she tore off all the peacock feathers and became a crow again. It was only then that the crows accepted her as one of them again. The foolish crow had a bitter experience. It taught her a lesson for life. Do not adopt unnatural and improper methods for self-improvement, and do not try to copy others. A long time ago, there was a rich peasant living in a village who had 2 sons named Hugh and Dee. Before the father died, he asked his older son, Hugh, to give half of the inheritance to his brother when he got married. However, Hugh and his wife did not keep his father's last wish. They decided to keep most of the inheritance and gave Dee and his wife only a small rice paddy in a barren farmland and an old starfruit tree. Nonetheless, Dee and his wife were pleased with what they had and continued to work hard. They always took a little time to take care of the old starfruit tree and traded the starfruits for food in the nearby market. One day, Dee saw a giant raven who was eating all the starfruits. Dee begged the bird to stop eating the starfruits. The giant raven stopped for a while and said, "If you let me eat your starfruits, I'll pay you back in gold, but you must prepare a 3-foot pouch tomorrow." The following morning, the raven came back. "Prepare the pouch for the gold." Dee climbed onto his back, and then they flew away. The raven brought Dee to a gold mountain. Near the entrance of a cave, the raven said, "You can take whatever you like." Though there were so many precious items there to take, Dee decided to fill only half of his pouch with gold and gems. When the raven saw the half-filled pouch, the raven asked, "Why didn't you fully fill the pouch?" Dee answered, "This is good enough for me." Dee and his wife became very rich, but they still worked hard and had a successful living as farmers. His brother Hugh heard about the story of the raven and got jealous. One day, he and his wife forced Dee to trade the farmland and the starfruit tree for their larger plot of land and all the fortune they had. When the raven came back to eat the starfruits, the couple repeated the same thing as Dee before. The raven also said the same thing. "If you let me eat your starfruits, I'll pay you back in gold, but you must prepare a 3-foot pouch tomorrow." But out of greed, they decided to prepare a 6-foot pouch instead of a 3-foot pouch. Everything happened almost the same way. At last, Hugh entered the cave, filled with gold coins and precious gems. He crammed a lot of gold into the pouch. As soon as the raven took off again with Hugh on his back, it urged Hugh to throw away some of the gold coins. "My wings are tired. If you don't drop some of the gold, we both may fall and die." But Hugh was too greedy to throw away such precious gold. Suddenly, the raven lost his balance and angrily cried, "You are too greedy! You'll die with your gold!" Hugh fell off from the back of the raven. He and his gold hit the sea and sunk all the way to the bottom. His precious gold and gems were no good to him at the bottom of the sea. Hugh knew now what the saying, "Never bite what you cannot chew," means.